So you have been secretly plotting your move to South Surrey or White Rock, and you really don't know where to start. You're not sure which community might be the very best for you. You obviously want your money to go as far as absolutely possible, but more importantly than all, you want to make sure you get it right. You've only got one chance to buy a new home, and you don't want to put your money and your family in an area that doesn't make sense. Well, I've got some great news for you today, because this is the beginner's guide to buying a home in the South Surrey or White Rock neighborhood. I'm going to jump into the top 5 considerations that you want to make when you're choosing a place to call home in this area. And not only that, but I'm also going to give you some very detailed information to help you make a great decision. So when it does come time to make your purchase, you can be absolutely sure that you pick the right home and location for your family. I'm going to dive into a bunch of really great things that you're going to want to consider, whether you are a single person looking to relocate or you're somebody looking to move your entire family to this incredible neighborhood. In this video, we're going to cover things like how to pick the ideal location. I'm going to get you thinking all about the different quality of life aspects that are offered in different areas. I'm going to challenge you to consider the community aspect of it as well, because you want to feel good about where you live. We're going to dive a little bit into the cultural experiences available in White Rock and South Surrey. And lastly, we're going to talk a little bit about the affordability and where your money might get you exactly what you're looking for. If that all sounds good, let's jump into today's video. So let me just start by confessing that I absolutely love White Rock and South Surrey. And I might be a little bit biased to this because, look, I grew up here, but I think it is probably the best community in the entire Lower Mainland. That's right, I said it, the entire Lower Mainland. So all you people drinking your Starbucks, walking the seawall in kits, that's right, White Rock's got you beat. You've got almost everything you need out in White Rock, South Surrey, and it is a sought after place to live from people from all across British Columbia and the Lower Mainland. And honestly, for very good reason. It is beautiful. It is parks everywhere as far as you can see. It is nice wide streets. It's not super busy down here, although it is getting busier as the years go by. You're kind of tucked away from all of the craziness of kind of the Lower Mainland, and you're very close to a lot of highways and the border to get out of town for a nice holiday should you wish to. So if you're someone that's thinking of buying out in South Surrey or White Rock, let's jump into it. Then the first thing I really want you to consider is location. So saying South Surrey, White Rock just as a whole, well, that's a really big area. And of course, just like any community, there's little pockets all over that you are going to want to understand a little bit better before you decide to commit to one to live. Jumping into the Grandview neighborhood. The Grandview neighborhood is a newer type of community. It's only really been around since maybe about 2008. And this is where you're going to find a little bit of a younger vibe, a little bit of a younger generation. Typically, a lot of people maybe starting their families or finding their first properties. This is a very walkable area where there is just shopping galore. You can find almost everything you need in Grandview, and it's all very easily accessible. This is where a lot of the premier stores in South Surrey, White Rock are located, as well as a lot of the premier restaurants that aren't necessarily the niche restaurants that are down by the beach, but you've got a lot of your chain kind of higher end restaurants in this area, and it's just a really great community for people that are maybe out and about a little bit more social, and they like kind of getting involved in the community. Another community is also what I call Central White Rock, or better described might be a Semiahmoo town center, where this primarily is a lot more senior orientated. There's many buildings that are in fact age restricted, located kind of in and around this shopping center. So you tend to get a lot of the seniors, especially walking on the streets to get their day-to-day services, access the grocery store, all that sort of stuff. Again, this is a very walkable area with lots of shopping, and you do have lots of choices for not only shopping and groceries, but also restaurants in the area. A lot of this Semiahmoo town center area is due to be redeveloped in the future. It's going to be a lot of high rises and still is going to have a shopping aspect to it, but it is going to be changing quite a bit moving forward in the future for the City of Surrey's plan going all the way into 2050. You've also got the Crescent Park, or the Elgin or the Chantrell areas, and this is where you tend to find some of the bigger properties, the more kind of fancy and really exquisite homes that we have in this community. Should we call them rich people? I don't know. Should we? You're definitely going to need a car if you want to live in this area, but it is pretty prestigious. You've got beautiful homes on beautiful lots, and this is going to give you a lot more of a quiet experience just living your day-to-day life. Very walkable, but you're not typically walking to things like groceries and coffee shops and stores. You're just kind of walking beautiful neighborhoods, and there's lots of trees and parks around. Of course, there's 2 beaches in the South Surrey White Rock neighborhood as well. You've got White Rock Beach and you've got Crescent Beach. While both offer a little bit of a different vibe, I find the White Rock Beach area is more about the view and people that really want to have the White Rock stamp on their name. Of course, you're gonna need a car in this area a lot of the time as well because it is very close to a beach. It is very hilly in most areas. I kind of find the demographic in this area to be your kind of middle-aged and maybe a little bit older, kind of the empty nester type phase of their lives where they've been relatively successful and they're kind of getting the home that they've been wanting all of their life. Now, Crescent Beach is a little bit of a different vibe. While there certainly is some very beautiful homes down there, it's a much more of a beachy community feeling. There's a lot of little beach houses as an example, but it's a little more of a smaller knit, tight-knit community where you're probably going to get to know your neighbors a lot more. And the last area is the King George corridor and the Sunnyside areas. Now, this is all kind of a mixed bag. There's lots of detached homes in this area, but you also tend to get a lot of the new developments going in and around this area, especially closer to the King George area. The development tends to be a little bit sporadic all over the King George corridor, and it's kind of a funky shape. It's really just wraps around King George. So you get all types of people, whether it is senior, new home buyers, or kind of the middle-aged type buyers that are maybe getting their first house for their young family. So which location do you think is best for you? The next thing I want to jump into is quality of life, because quality of life is such an important thing that you really want to consider when you're making an investment as large as buying a home. If you're someone that really values parks, you would want to probably live somewhere close to the Sunnyside Acres Urban Forest. This is by far the biggest park in South Surrey and has just got ample walking trails and BMX trails. You can walk for absolutely hours in here and just get lost enjoying yourself in the forest. The other kind of bigger forest in South Surrey White Rock is of course Crescent Park, which is attached to Crescent Park Elementary School, just down by Crescent Beach area. Again, a very beautiful forest. There is lots of walking trails, albeit not quite as extensive as Sunnyside Acres, but you're never going to feel out of place in the Crescent Park area. There's also more little parks around the area too, like the Bakerview area or the Dogwood Park area, which is amazing if you've got a dog and you want an off-leash dog park. But those are really the 2 biggest ones are Sunnyside Acres and Crescent Park. For schools, you're really not going to go wrong in anywhere in South Surrey White Rock. Typically, when it comes to the Fraser Institute's ratings of schools in the Lower Mainland, South Surrey honestly usually holds the top maybe 7 out of 10 spots for its schools. Not only do you got a plethora of elementary schools to choose from, and all the elementary schools are very, very walkable in terms of their catchment areas, but you've also got 4 high schools to choose from in the area. All the high schools have different offerings, but whether it is sports programs or IB offerings, you're really not going to go wrong with any of the high schools in South Surrey as well. And you've also got the brand new Grandview Heights Secondary School. If you haven't had an opportunity to go drive by this, then you definitely want to, because it's a pretty impressive school, and it's also beside the Grandview Aquatic Center. For anyone with young kids, you cannot go wrong here. It is probably the best swimming pool you will ever get to experience. When it comes to quality of life, I like to think a lot of the hubs are really the areas that you may consider focusing on. And the hubs, of course, are Semiahmoo Town Center, the Grandview Heights or the Morgan Crossing area, Ocean Park, which is the coolest little community that you'll ever gonna find, but of course there's not a lot there because it is small. And you've also got all of the shopping options that are available in the South Point area, which is also very close to the highway. When it comes to community, which is also such a big part of buying a home, I think you really want to consider what demographic that you might fit into. Starting with those first-time buyers out there, maybe people that are single or just freshly in a new relationship, just married, maybe in their early 30s looking to start a family, I definitely would consider the Grandview neighborhood for you. you're going to find families very similar to exactly what you are in this area. It's a very vibrant and alive community full of young families, and you're going to have an awesome time just getting to meet all the folks out there that are in the position of their lives that are likely very similar to where you're at as well. Moving up in age a little bit, if you're someone with a young family already and someone with kids, you're probably going to want to stay kind of tight to the King George corridor or the Sunnyside area. This is where you start to get a lot more of the detached homes on a little bit of the bigger properties. You tend to get the more established households in these areas. And again, you're going to find people that are fairly similar to you likely in these areas just because of the school catchments, as well as they likely, just like you, needed a little more space, so opted to go after a detached home. Moving up the age brackets a little bit, if you're someone who has been around a little bit longer and maybe you're in that empty nester type phase your life, or you've got older kids that are maybe in high school, people tend to really gravitate towards the White Rock and Crescent Beach neighborhoods. These tend to be the places where they really want to have and live before they retire. If you're someone that's maybe a little bit older and maybe a little more established in your career, kids are a little bit older, maybe they're even out of the house and you're an empty nester, the White Rock and Crescent Beach areas tend to be the areas those people gravitate towards. Obviously, it's a little bit more expensive to live in a house likely in White Rock or Crescent Beach, but these also tend to be the types of homes that are almost the trophy homes that people really strive to have. Of course, the communities are all mixed, but for the most part, it tends to be people that have been very successful in their careers. They very much have desire to live in these neighborhoods, and they have got the property that they're likely going to be in until they reach the next phase of retiring. So for any of my seniors out there watching this video, if you're considering any community in South Surrey White Rock, it definitely has to be surrounding the Semiahmoo town center area. As I mentioned previously, this area is littered with buildings all around it that are age-restricted buildings. Typically, to be an owner in these, you need to be over the age of 55. This means you're going to see seniors and people over the age of 55 all over the place that are walking to the various services that are all easily accessible from this location. Not only can you easily access groceries, but you've got a lot of city services as well as pharmacies and doctors all in this area, and it's close to the hospital, which I know some people appreciate, especially as they age. So now that we've got quality of life and community out of the way, it's time to jump into what kind of culture you might expect when you move to South Surrey White Rock. And if you're specifically looking for a community that has some culture, look no further than the White Rock area. Hands down, White Rock just absolutely crushes South Surrey in terms of the things it hosts, because a lot of the stuff for Surrey happens in North Surrey up by City Hall. Of course, anywhere in South Surrey White Rock, you're still easily accessible to all the things that happen in White Rock, but you are going to absolutely love some of the festivities that take place here each year. You've got things like Canada Day down by the bay, which is just an enormous celebration in the city of White Rock with live music and a fair. You've also got the White Rock Sea Festival, a local delight which brings everybody out in the city of White Rock to come celebrate. You've got the White Rock Arts Festival as well. If you're an artsy person, you'll absolutely love this. And this is just a small sample of the types of things that get hosted in the White Rock area, but let me tell you, you will never beat the culture and all the events and all the community events and all the people that like to congregate in the White Rock area, especially as the sun rolls around in the summer months. It's amazing. The last piece of our 5 things to consider is affordability. All the stuff that I have referenced in this video is great if money isn't an issue. But of course, for all of us, it probably is. I mean, we've all got a budget, so we want the absolute best for our money. White Rock, South Surrey really is a mixed bag. You know, there's no area that is necessarily going to be less expensive for a certain type of product than others, but you tend to see characteristics or commonalities amongst the different communities. Of course, all communities have condominiums in them, and they all have townhomes in them, and they all have detached homes in them, and some of them have monstrous properties with monstrous detached homes in them. This is all across the area. But what you're going to find in the White Rock area is there's going to be some houses that have views, some that don't, but the properties or the lots tend to be a little bit smaller, and you can get some mega beautiful homes with beautiful views. You've got some older style homes as well, But if you're looking for space, White Rock is probably not the place for you because of the size of the lots. White Rock also tends to be one of the more expensive areas. Crescent Beach can be similar to this as well. They also have small lots. But talking about expensive areas, we also want to make sure that the Elgin, Chantrell, and Crescent Park areas are on the list for that as well. These areas are more characteristic of having really large properties. So there's no view. It's not necessarily easy to get to the ocean or the bay from these areas, but they're just mega properties, a lot larger than what you might see in the King George Corridor or Sunnyside Park areas. These tend to be the premier homes, the ones that people get very excited about, the ones you might see on HGTV because they're just amazing. Some of the more affordable areas tend to be around the Semiahmoo town center area. And the reason for this is a lot of the buildings in this area, not all of them, they tend to be a little bit older. So you're gonna get more for your money, obviously, when you go towards an older place rather than a new place. You've also got the Grandview area, which is full of townhomes and condominiums and detached homes. And it's quite a mixed bag, but it tends to be an area where you get, again, a lot of the first-time home buyers get into this area, so it is affordable for many people. I think people really love Semiahmoo town center area and the Grandview area because when you take all of the community aspects of all the things you can walk to in these areas, they really tend to appreciate it, and the affordability again goes quite a long way in those areas in terms of South Surrey White Rock. In the middle of the pack, you tend to get the Sunnyside and the King George Corridor area, where again you're going to have a lot of either newer kind of condominiums or townhomes, or you've got some of those medium-sized detached homes on, you know, nice square footage properties that are, you know, in and around 8,000 square feet. So very nice community. I think to tie this all together, I want to let you know that you're not going to go wrong anywhere in South Surrey or White Rock. If you're coming from other areas in the province or other areas within the Lower Mainland, you cannot go wrong. By watching this video today, you now know that you have got a community that almost anybody would be so thankful to live in. It's clean, it's safe, it's well taken care of, and the people that live in South Surrey White Rock are usually pretty proud to be there. So you likely learned something on this video, and I'm curious, what was the biggest takeaway that you got about the South Surrey White Rock area? And if you are considering relocating here, which area do you think would be the best for you? Let me know in the comments below what you think, or if there's any questions you have about the area in general. And of course, if you are someone that's looking to relocate out to this area and you need a really good resource to help you when it comes time to buy likely your most valuable asset, there is a link below in our calendar where you can schedule time, and we'll make available to you our educated buyer session so you can be absolutely confident when you go into your home purchase. We'll make sure that you get the right price in the right area and the best thing that's available for your family. Hey, look, I want to thank you for watching this video. Thank you for subscribing. Thanks to your comments, and we'll look forward to seeing all of our subscribers on the next one. Cheers.